Thank you, John. I appreciate it. Good evening, everybody. I'm Mark Lazaretto. I'm the city manager for the city of San Gabriel. I'm very honored to be that. I first want to wish everybody a happy holidays, however you celebrate the holidays. I hope it's a good one for you and that your folks that you love and care for are safe and stay as safe as possible throughout this crazy time that we're having. As John said, I do want to start, first of all, with a couple of housekeeping items, and then I'll kick it off to Mayor Menchaca and Councilman Pu, and I will introduce them. But before we get started, I wanted to first let everybody know that you are live as of right now on YouTube, so everything that you say and your faces and pictures won't be going out, but your words will be captured forever, so good, bad, or otherwise, remember that. Would like to ask folks, and this is a great group of people, and I appreciate you all giving us your Thursday night, and I don't have to say this, but I will. Please, let's all be respectful of a diversity of opinions and be respectful of each other's thoughts as we're in this important meeting. Let's also try to be respectful of everybody's time. If possible, we'd love to get this over in about 90 minutes so that it's a productive meeting and it's not one that one person dominates or one group dominates. So let's try and keep, comments on topic and brief. One note for those who are watching on YouTube: we will not be monitoring the chat function on YouTube. So folks who are watching at home, if you want to submit a question, you can under the hearcommission@sgch.org email address, and that's HEAR commission@sgch.org. And at the end of the presentation, the screen that stays up on YouTube will have that email address, so folks can send us a question and we will try to get to those questions. We have great questions already, and we will get to those at the end of a very short presentation that Mayor Menchaca and Councilman Pu are going to be giving. And then if we have time, we will be able to do a live back and forth for any questions from the group that are here tonight on the call, and then potentially for any questions that we receive afterwards from that email address. And one note, again, we have a great group, and I don't think I have to say this, but if we get questions from the public later on, if they're inappropriate language or anything like that, this is not like a council meeting where public comment has to be read verbatim and into the record. So I will paraphrase comments if they're ones that are disruptive, or we can choose not to read those. So just for everybody's knowledge, that if somebody sends something in and it doesn't get read, that's why. We're not in a formal city council meeting. But again, I don't have to say that and hope I don't have to. So with that, I would be happy to turn it over to Mayor Menchaca and Councilman Pu. Denise Menchaca is our mayor, and Councilman Pu is our former mayor and a council person. They were appointed, as they'll tell you in a few minutes, to our HEAR subcommittee as an ad hoc subcommittee by the full city council, and their goal was to implement a very important resolution that our council adopted. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Mayor Menchaca.
Great, thank you so much, Mark. So first of all, welcome to our virtual town hall meeting, and it's great to see a lot of the faces on the screen. And for those that can't be on the screen, it's going to be great to hear from all of you. We hope to hear from all of you, but we will try to be mindful of your time. We're meeting today to have a dialogue about the HEAR Commission. This is one of the promises that this ad hoc committee had made, and this is really the final outreach meeting we're going to have before the application process closes, which is on Tuesday, December 15th. Some of you have already applied, and some of you are thinking about it. So thank you for being here. Coincidentally, this happens to be the United Against Hate Week, which is a call for local civic action by people to stop hate and implicit biases, since it's a danger to the safety and the civility of our neighborhoods. So just by coincidence, it is this week. Lastly, I just want to thank all of you for your interest, and I look forward to some honest conversations that I predict we're going to have tonight. So with that, I'll pass it on to Councilmember Pu.
Thank you, Mayor Menchaca, and thanks, Mark. And also, good evening, everybody. Thanks to all of you for taking the time to learn more about our HEAR Commission and just to be involved in the process. For me, this effort has been one to ensure that we live up to our own standards of treating every person with equity, with fairness, with dignity and respect. And, I truly hope that it's something that will continue to bring the community together. We, as a city organization, have never had conversations about these types of issues before. And Mayor Menchaca and I, as members of the ad hoc subcommittee, have done already numerous stakeholder meetings, business community leaders from the various spiritual and religious institutions within the city, community members, of course, and of course, members from our San Gabriel Police Department. So I'm thrilled to be here and thrilled to see so many people here in the meeting. And for those who are watching on our Channel 3 or on YouTube, welcome as well. I appreciate everybody taking an interest in our HERE Commission, and looking forward to a productive dialogue and conversation about it. Thank you.
All right, Mayor Menchaca, that brings us to the first part of our presentation, and I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay, so page 3, please, Jonathan. Okay, so we're just going to try to go through it briefly because I know everybody wants to start having these conversations, but just for background and just how we're moving forward, Councilmember Pu and I are going to split this presentation. I will start with the first half. And, in the beginning, it's a background. June 9th was a very key date. That's when the City Council adopted resolution number 2031, condemning the killing of George Floyd. We also committed to a process of reflection on city programs, procedures, and actions to identify any racist, discriminatory, or inequitable situations. And then at that time, the City Council as a whole voted to create this ad hoc committee, which appointed myself and Councilmember Pu to serve on. So this has been it's a long process, but we've gotten a lot done within that 6-month period. And page 4, please. There we go. And so over the months, as Councilmember Pu had mentioned, we did a lot of extensive outreach, and every time it was actually a really good learning experience. We learned something new, and we keep telling people that we don't know it all, obviously, but as we continued with these conversations, we found that there was definitely a need for the HERE Commission. This was the first time that we've even talked about these sensitive topics, and it was just it was a good experience, but also it brought us together as a community, and hopefully with the HERE Commission, it would also be it was an opportunity to get people excited and interested in participating and carrying these on even more so, the conversations. During the meetings, we did talk about equity, diversity, access, public safety. And then from there, kind of organically grew into having a commission, that there was just so much that could be discussed and should be discussed, but it needed focus. It wasn't something that the council could do on a regular basis. And we felt this elevated itself to that level of importance. And so the commission grew from that. And next item. Next page, there we go. And so then on August 18th, the ad hoc committee formally recommended to the full city council. So just so all of you know, you need 3 out of the 5 to approve anything on the city council. And so we were just 2, we were a committee. So we had to bring it forward to the full council for it to get adopted. And so we were fortunate enough to get the majority of the council to approve, our recommendation on this commission. And here, just to kind of go back a little bit, so here's an acronym. So it means Human Equity Access Relations Commission. And we had the first reading on October 6th and then adopted it on October 20th. Then on November 20th, we held a press conference and made it public to everyone, what we had. We had created this commission. We all council members, except for one, shared their personal experiences and why this here commission had significance for us on a personal level, but also as council members and for our community. Let's see, next item. And so we'll start with the purpose of the HERE Commission, and here's the official purpose if you go to the ordinance, but everyone has asked, or not everyone, but a lot of people have asked, well, don't you have something shorter, an elevator pitch and of sorts, 30 seconds? And I guess we can talk about that later down the road, because I think that's one of the questions. But officially on our resolution, this is what the purpose is, and I'll just read it. The purpose of the HERE Commission is to advance and advocate for equity, access, diversity, social justice, safety, mutual appreciation, increased cultural competency, positive intergroup relations, and respect for all members of the San Gabriel community. So that is officially what was approved and signed. And then, as I said later on, I'll give you my 30-second elevator pitch. But I need to stay on the script for now so we can move forward. Next page is page 7, and Councilmember Pooh will take it from here.
Okay, great. So as the mayor mentioned, these provisions that you see on the screen now are from the ordinance itself. This talks about the scope of the commission. And within the ad hoc subcommittee, we really work very hard to bring forward a fair and balanced commission, one that could stay focused on bigger picture issues while dealing with any issues of inequities or inequalities that might come up or that we already are concerned about. So I think one of the important things about the scope provision that you see on the screen here is that the HERE Commission is not intended to be a quasi-judicial body, an oversight board, or one whose primary function is to receive or investigate individual incidents or complaints. It certainly can, individual incidents or complaints can be brought to the commission, but the main purpose of the scope provision here is to try to keep the HERE Commission focused on policy level recommendations to the council, or in proposing any changes that they might see, that the commission might see, that would improve our equity, access, and relations within the city. Then if there are questions about why these types of scope provisions, I'm happy to help address them later on, because again, we want this commission to stay at the appropriate level, not get bogged down too much in individual incidents or complaints. There are already procedures for those types of things, and so this we hope to be more of a policy level recommending body to the city council. Next slide, please. Here again are the powers and duties of the commission from the ordinance itself. Again, through the extensive outreach that we've had. Also, I forgot to mention earlier that we've had numerous meetings with staff, the executive team in particular, and crafting the ordinance. So one of the things that came out in some of those conversations was the idea of having an annual work plan. This would be probably one of the first tasks of the commission itself, is to develop an annual work plan that must be approved by the council. We are anticipating that this annual work plan would be developed towards the end of each calendar year and approved by the council around that time, end or beginning of the calendar year. Mind you, this is different from the fiscal year of the city because many public agencies, or most, are on a July 1st to June 30th fiscal year. we purposely set this cycle to be on the calendar year so as not to conflict with annual budgeting meetings and other things that we have going on around the time of the fiscal year turnaround. And then towards the end of each calendar year, an annual report will also be presented by the commission to the council, discussing progress on the work plan for the year, as well as any recommendations. These kind of go hand in, these will eventually go hand in hand, where, you know, the report will discuss the progress, the, you know, things that worked well, things that didn't work well, whatever recommendations there might be for the next year's work plan. And also then, of course, you know, present that annual work plan for the next calendar year. Next slide, please. So, again, this is all in the ordinance. The commission itself will consist of 7 members, staggered 2-year terms. That means that, so the initial commission, some members will be appointed probably to a 1-year term, initial 1-year term, and others to a 2-year term. And the reason we do this is how council operates as well. So probably 4 members will be on the 1 or 2-year term, and 3 members will be on, 4 members might be on the 2-year term, 3 members might be on the 1-year term, so that you don't have a complete turnover of the commission at any one given time, right? So, so that's what staggered means. At least 5 members must be residents. All 7 could be residents. We already have, you know, enough applications from residents of the city to be able to fill all 7 seats with residents. But we did want to allow ourselves the flexibility to appoint non-resident members if there was interest from somebody who didn't live outside or didn't live within the city of San Gabriel, but had a tie to the community or had some specific expertise, training, or experience that would benefit the commission and benefit the city. You know, business owners, leaders from our faith community, academia, those types of areas, I think, are ones that you know, we wanted to allow ourselves the flexibility to have at least to have up to 2 of those types of folks if they didn't live within the city. And of course, we will strive to be as equitable as possible also in the selection process of those commissioners, to ensure that we have the, you know, a cross-section, representative cross-section of the diversity of the community. And I think that it wouldn't set a good example, obviously, if our Commission on Equity itself was not equitably, I think, appointed. Next slide, please. So initially, we've set the meetings to be monthly. You know, at anything here is actually, you know, potentially subject to change in the future. If it becomes more sort of appropriate to have quarterly meetings, as some of our other commissions might meet, then they can move to that. But we think that, you know, at least for the outset, the first year or 2, while the commission is getting established, that monthly meetings would probably be necessary. That's to ensure that, you know, we can continue to move along and not get sort of bogged down. When you only have 4 meetings a year, it sometimes is harder to get things done. Staff would be assigned to assist the commission and carry out its requests, whether they're requests for information or what have you. You know, sometimes you just want to understand, you know, what kind of data that we have, you know, within the city, and and staff would assist with that, as well as any reports and things that the commission would request. Next slide, please. So the next steps, as the mayor mentioned, the ordinance did formally go into effect on November 20th. We had a press conference to sort of celebrate and announce that. The subcommittee and the entire council will continue to advertise for the commission applications, which the application period is coming up. It's coming up at December 15th. So if there's anybody out there who is interested in applying for this commission, please do so online at stgabrielcity.com, and then you can go to find the commission's link. And in fact, we can probably provide the specific link for the commission application later on in this during this meeting. So December 15th is the deadline for that. We anticipate having our commission interviews. I think at this point will probably be in January. It says here late December or January, but I think that given the holidays and so forth, we'll probably try to do it in the new year. And as I mentioned before, the first order of business of the commission will be to create that annual work plan and have it approved by the city council. Next slide, please. So that is it for the brief summary and introduction of the commission. We know there are actually quite a few of you who have already submitted a lot of questions. We'll try to cover those, and also to engage in an open dialogue. We hope that there'll be time for that, because that's also been in our previous outreach meetings when I've personally learned the most. When I think that we've had the most productive conversation. So with that, I'll hand it back to Mayor Menchaca and Mark to facilitate the rest of the town hall meeting. Thank you.
So Mark is actually going to be our facilitator. Councilmember Pooh and I could respond. And Mark has taken the time to try to consolidate some of the questions. He will read each of the questions, but he's grouped them. So again, we can have time to have that exchange. But Mark, why don't you move forward?
Thank you, Mayor Menchaca and Councilman Pooh. Let's start out with a couple of softball questions that I think you already answered in your presentation, but if you want to touch a little further or clarify it. Councilman Pooh, you kind of covered this in your section of the presentation. I'll read two questions, but they're similar. One is from Sherry Cabot, and her question is, what qualities are you looking for in the new commissioners? And the other is from Gerardo Sanchez, which is, how will the commission appointments be determined and by whom? So what qualities and who picks?
Why don't you go ahead, Mayor?
Okay. Well, again, just a reminder that, we are one person on the council, and so my expectations or my desires may be different from another council member, but I am looking for someone who believes in this commission, who understands that there is a need for this commission, and that can really bring their perspective. Either and the perspective could vary. It could be because they're involved in education, or because they've lived here for a long time. They bring some type of experience to the table and could really speak on a variety of issues that are impacting our communities. I'm looking for someone that can have a civil discourse, not necessarily all agree, but at least be able to really address issues that need to be addressed. And I'm looking for someone who really wants to build a strong community, someone who wants to understands that there are divisions, and that we need to encourage our community to be much more civically involved, and even in our neighborhoods. There is some discourse there, even in our neighborhoods. And so, I'm not looking for the perfect person. Might sound like a perfect person, but just someone who understands what the mission is here and the goal is. And that's kind of in a nutshell. Councilmember Pooh?
Yeah, I actually do agree with much of what the mayor said, and I think it is important that we have commissioners that are able to respect others and respect the diversity of opinions, and also be able to be objective and look at evidence and data fairly. Not be afraid to ask tough questions sometimes, as long as they're fair questions. But then in evaluating the data or information, and then making proposals or recommendations, to be able to still be fair, to be balanced, to have a little, understanding too of sometimes, the limitations of what we can and cannot do as a smaller city as well. So those are some of the things that I'm looking for. I think the civil discourse is a big part of that because, as many of you know, we don't always agree with each other on the council. But one thing, as long as during the 7 years that I've been on council, that I've appreciated is that we're always able to have a very civil discourse. We may disagree. Sometimes it may even get heated. But at the end of the day, we don't have yelling and shouting matches with each other. And to be honest with you, I think that's a hallmark of San Gabriel that some other cities they don't enjoy that kind of mutual respect and civil discourse. I'll say a couple words about the selection process itself because the question kind of goes towards that. We anticipate the selection process to be the same as for any of our other commissions, which is, currently with the number of applicants that we have, it's a manageable number so that I think we'll be able to actually interview all of the applicants. And then the full council, will select basically, I guess, the top 7 out of all those applicants. Many times with other commissions, we engage in a sort of ranked choice voting. So each council member gets to sort of rank 1 through 7 in this case, and then we kind of tabulate and have further discussion and come to a consensus about which actual individuals would be the best commissioners for this commission for this or any other commission for that matter. And sometimes, considerations such as making sure that we do have that diversity of opinions or diversity of backgrounds, because maybe something else I didn't mention before about folks who, we'd like to see on the commission are people who can bring something to the table, and I think that we all have our own experiences, and all of those experiences are valid. And I think that we should strive to make sure that we're not just, not just an echo chamber and not just, sort of like a commission or a city or council that has blinders on, right? And in fact, I think another one of the things that that this commission in particular will address is, whether or not we do have any blind spots with respect to that. And so to promote equity, not only within city policies and practices, but also to promote equity within the community as well.
And just a reminder, so the interviews are live. So it is, the public gets to listen to them. They're typically about 20 to 25 minutes because we try to schedule everyone on a 30-minute interval. And so, so anyway, I think it's important for all of you to know. And it's a process that we've always carried on, but it's different just because of COVID. But it's always been a public process, but it hasn't been live or taped in the past before COVID. But since COVID, we've had, for example, the Historical Commission. We had interviews for them. We had for the Civil Service Commission. So we've gone through this before, but this is the first time we've ever done it for the Cure Commission. So I wanted to just add that. Okay, Mark, next.
All right. Well, staying on the topic of commissioners themselves, Sherry Cabot would like you to please explain the value of having non-San Gabriel residents on the commission.
Want to take that first?
Yeah, sure. I think as I mentioned during my introduction, I think we just wanted to have the flexibility to be able to have outside experts or those who don't necessarily live within the city of San Gabriel, but have a very strong tie to the city. There are some folks who maybe live just outside the formal city in the county area, but consider San Gabriel and the city of San Gabriel to be their home and have lived there for many years, or that could also apply for a business owner, that could apply for any member of our religious community. And again, sometimes, if there were an expert of some kind on diversity and equity issues that was interested and applied, that could be another person that we could consider. And the benefit of that is that you get some outside perspective. You get, a sense of best practices. These are the kinds of things that, frankly, I mean, we maybe didn't always pay attention to as much as we should have. But when we, as council members, attend conferences like the League of California Cities or the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments, you hear and you see what other cities, what other people have done, what kind of solutions they may have implemented for various issues. And then you can think about whether or not that's appropriate and would fit or for your own city. So I think having that those outside perspectives has that kind of value. And then, but again, we already have enough applicants to fill all 7 seats with city residents. I mean, there may be a few who are non-residents, but we wanted to make sure we had the flexibility to be able to include those types of folks should there be somebody who can really provide that kind of high level of value, but just happens to not formally live within the city of San Gabriel.
So I think that sums it up. Next question, so we can move along.
Thank you. So the next question, I'll read 2 questions. I think they're similar in their scope. The first one is from Dr. Jennings Nunez. Why do you believe a commission of this type is necessary in San Gabriel in particular? And Sherry Cabot asks, what and when initiated the development of the HERE Commission?
Okay. Well, in the background, we talked about how it really began with the killing of George Floyd, but it evolved. It just continued to evolve, and it was a moment of self-reflection as a council person, as mayor of the city. And so, as we had mentioned before, it was just a process. We didn't know where it was going, but we knew that, this is a historic moment in time. And we knew that San Gabriel, with the march that 3 of us participated in, our city wanted to have a place where they can express their grief, but also express their desire for us as a community to kind of open our eyes and see what the possibilities were. Kind of a self-reflection moment. Do we have blind spots? Are there things that we could be doing better in our community? Because we have a very diverse community. And it's not just the ethnicity, but gender, age. Have we really been addressing those questions? I know for me, it comes up every election cycle. You can see the hate and the racism that surfaces. But we've also, in this conversation, we've also seen other areas that we really haven't thought about. The one that's the low-hanging fruit is, for example, the agendas. Other cities, when they do have a predominant language, do translate their agendas. And I'm not referring to the 500 pages of the agenda with all the detail, but just the summary page of the agenda that just shares with you what the discussions are, what the recommendation. How do we expect our community to be engaged if they can't even understand what we're talking about? And so, and from there's other examples that have been brought forward to our attention. And, again, we just felt like this deserves its own place for continuing evaluation, whether it's data or just conversation. Many of you have experience maybe personally, and maybe we're hoping later on you can share, why you value, or what is your interest with this HERE Commission, or maybe why you believe we shouldn't even have a HERE Commission. But, hopefully I've kind of addressed some of it. There's been long-standing divisions. It just didn't happen over time, or it didn't happen earlier this year. Those who've lived here for a long time, the divisions have been taking place, but maybe they're a little different because the ethnic background was different, maybe the age was different, but this has been going on for a long time. And this city has never really kind of come to terms with it, decided, it's time to maybe start developing, more positive relationships among the diverse community. So hopefully I kind of answered the question. I'll pass it on to Councilmember Pu.
I would echo a lot of the mayor's comments, but I'll just speak for me personally. I do go back to the killings of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and many others over that shocked and outraged many of us, people around the country, throughout the country, around the world, and really raised the issue of race equity and institutional racism. I have personally been subject to racism. I'm sure many of you have as well, as the mayor said. And I think in that reflection process and thinking about, are we doing all that we can? Are there things that we could do better? And then engaging the community and seeing so much interest among community members for something like this, that we do think these are long overdue issues and questions that need to be raised and investigated. And this is our way of proactively trying to address them. Again, I think for the first time ever, to be honest with you, as a city organization, perhaps the first time ever to try to really, actually address these types of issues. When I first ran for council in 2013, I asked the question, will the city of San Gabriel always be a tale of two cities? And, those of you who lived here long enough understand exactly what that means. And this goes towards some of the mayor's comments as well about issues that we know exist within the community. And yet, it's easy to sort of say, oh, this isn't a problem for us, or it's not so bad, or this or that. But honestly, I personally don't think that we should, condone or turn a blind eye to racism and discrimination, to inequity and inequality, in any of its forms. And so whether it's things that we can do as a city, as a municipal organization to within our own policies and practices, or to promote diversity, mutual respect, cultural competency, dignity for all people within the community, then these are the types of things, the reasons why I think that the way that the commission is structured, its purpose, its scope is fair, it's balanced, it's proactive, and I'll go a step further in saying that I believe that racial and social equity and public safety could and should go hand in hand. Honestly, that if there was more equity, there would be more harmony, and then there would be more safety. And so I actually, contrary to rhetoric you might see in the national media, I think that these are all what do you want to say? All supporting ideologies. They support each other, and I believe that having this commission is a big step towards us not only just understanding and learning about these issues, but then trying to see what kinds of things can we do. Maybe can we do better, or can we do more of? And I think that those are the types of motivations, personal motivations for me in terms of being on this ad hoc subcommittee and bringing forward the recommendation for the HERE Commission.
Thank you both. And staying now with the some of the specifics about the HERE Commission, Councilman Pu, you kind of touched on what the work plan and some of the specifics would be. So I have two questions from Dr. Jennings Nunez, and they're similar questions, a little bit different, but I'll read them both together, and I think they can be answered as one answer. So she asks, if I feel that a business in San Gabriel is treating me in a negative way because of my race or ethnicity, can I report this to the HERE Commission? And similarly, can I report to the HERE Commission if I feel I'm being treated unequally by a city service or a city department?
Were you going to take that one, Mark?
Well,
I mean, we had
I'll be
discussed
happy
it
to.
just, well, I can answer it too, but I was going to give Mark an opportunity because it really goes back to processes too, because the HERE Commission, I mean, it is at policy level, and we don't want the HERE Commission to get bogged down with that level of detail because we already have processes in place. Can they be better? Yes, they can be, and that would be something the HERE Commission, but we hate for the HERE Commission to jump and get derailed on their mission because of one or two complaints. You know, that could be part of the work plan initially. They may want to add that to the work plan, but we do have processes in place. And I think that's really the core of the HERE Commission is that, you know, you would be the eyes and ears. That's the way I describe in my 30-second elevator pitch. You're the eyes and ears of this city. And it's about, you know, is this city providing the services and the resources, you know, in an equitable fashion? Does everyone have access to it? Are they achieving social justice? That for me is my way of trying to explain what the HERE Commission is. You know, the HERE Commission would provide recommendations on how we can do better as a city, because we all have blind spots. We all, you know, right now the situation is that there's things that are not as blatant. You know, there's blatant racism, there's blatant social injustice, but there's things that, you know, we may not see. There's some blind spots, and we're hoping the HERE Commission could bring that to our attention. You know, we're doing the best we can. I believe truly every department is doing the best they can. But you as residents, or you as an interested party in our city, you know, whether it's because of your church or because you have a business, you're seeing things that maybe we're not seeing, and we can do better. And so anyway, I'll pass it to Councilmember Pook.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would say the short answer is yes. You know, any incident or complaint can be brought to the commission, which then can be, you know, forwarded on to the council, or maybe even directly referred back to staff. But as the mayor said, you know, one of the reasons we designed the scope the way that we did was taking a lesson from other commissions throughout the state. You know, I happen to be longtime friends with the executive director of the LA Human Relations Commission. And that's one of the sort of pitfalls sometimes of these types of commissions, that you get too bogged down in each individual case, and therefore, you know, of course, obviously wanting to investigate the facts and making sure that, you know, you have all the information available, so forth and so on. But that ends up taking up a lot of time and energy of the commission without having a focus on, you know, sort of a bigger picture policy level recommendation or recommendation of reform for any particular practice. Now, some particular incident might expose a practice or a policy that, you know, is inequitable in some way, and that's perfectly valid. So that's why, you know, but we didn't want the commission itself to be this, again, this quasi-judicial body that investigated individual incidents or had any kind of oversight. Again, there are procedures for that. And believe me, I mean, over the years, I've received many emails, phone calls, complaints in this nature or along these lines. And sometimes, you know, honestly, sometimes I don't have time or the energy to be able to, or to be able to, you know, actually deal with all of them. But at the same time, I'll refer them to the appropriate staff person, maybe saying, hey, this is an issue that has come up. But it's very difficult, you know, with everything else that we have to manage on the council, to then ask, the sort of secondary question or the corollary question about, well, why did this incident happen, and what is it about about the practice or the procedure that may be changed so that we don't have those types of unfair results. Jean, hi.
Is it appropriate to ask a follow-up or question at this point, or do you want me to wait?
I think it would be fine if we could keep it quick and we'll get through a couple of questions. And then we can...
I just would like to clarify. What I'm hearing is the commission will take the individual complaint about being mistreated at a restaurant. And that's not what the scope says. And I think it's going to be important to be very clear that you're talking about that the commission is charged with broader issues. I think not, and otherwise you will be bogged down. The commission will be bogged down in very small things that might be a civil matter, but they don't belong here. So could you clarify, please?
I would say exactly as you said.
Yeah.
It's exactly as you said. So, anybody frankly, anybody can contact any of us, right? I mean, our emails are on the website, so forth and so on. But yeah, exactly what you said. If there's a complaint about a restaurant, sometimes that's even, you have to be careful, right? And, sometimes you have to take reports with a grain of salt. Sometimes a competitor is just complaining against another competitor, what have you. Something that's about even a city employee could just be a personal matter or of some kind. So anyways, the point is that, it can be brought to the commission, and those individual incidents will be, addressed to the extent that we can under current policies and procedures. But the HERE Commission itself, to me, is meant mostly to, as you said, deal with the bigger picture issues. And, and if it becomes apparent like that incident exposes some type of discrimination or inequality in the results or outcomes of that particular practice, then that would certainly be a policy level discussion that the HERE Commission could bring forward to the council.
Also, it's a learning process. So as commissioners, you will learn about the complaint process, and everything can't be prescriptive, obviously. There will be things that will take place, but someone reporting an incident might lead to something else. Maybe we don't have the proper procedures for people to feel comfortable to report. Maybe we need to improve that. What kind of, because in a perfect world, obviously, every resident should feel comfortable going to the department head or going to the person who is, creating some problems. But it doesn't work that way all the time. And so, is there a better way that we could be doing this so people feel like they have at least an appeal process, or what I'm not quite sure what it would be called, but sometimes you just kind of stumble across issues, and that will take place during the commission also. But Mark, it's 7:27, and so I wanted to, do we have one more question? And I'd really like to try to open it up.
Yep, we're on the same page. There are two questions I think I can answer fairly quickly. They're more process questions that I think would be city staff driven. So I'll read and answer those. And then I have a statement that I think represents a differing opinion than what we've heard so far. And then I think that would be a good segue into the open discussion if the two of you would agree to that. So the two questions that are more process oriented are, one's from Ms. Rhea. Her question is, a new commission will have questions about process, rules, and jurisdiction. Who will guide them and help them assure a successful setup and operation? And then Anag Mandamkapoor asks, which departments will be supporting the HERE Commission day to day? Which departments will be supporting the HERE Commission? And my response to both of those would be that we would have city staff that would be assigned to man the commission. And in fact, Rebecca Perez, our community services director, happens to be on the call, and it's very likely that her staff would be doing the day-to-day running of the commission. Our Assistant City Manager, Amine Chaparian, is on the call as well, and her staff would be involved, but most of the meetings would be handled by Rebecca's staff, because I anticipate a lot of the questions or concerns could be human relations related or human services related, and that fits most closely with Rebecca and the work that she does. As far as which departments would be supporting it, as I said, it would likely be that department, but it depends on what the issues that the commission is looking at. It could go through the entire organization with different departments presenting information or doing fact finding or analysis. So it really depends on the issue that the commission is looking at. And then all of that to say, the city staff that deal with this commission and making sure that it gets set up successfully, we have folks that deal with commissions, you know, on a weekly basis that are used to the rules and how those work. But then we'll also be supported by our city attorney's shop for any of the procedural or technical questions. So unless Councilman Pu or Mayor Menchaca, you have anything to add to either one of those, I'm going to move on. And one of the sort of sentiments we hear from folks who are skeptical or wondering why we need a commission, it's been labeled as an anti-police department, or this is a way to get a police commission or defund the police movement, or one that we hear from a lot of residents is that we don't have these kinds of issues in San Gabriel, and so why do we need a commission like this? We received a statement from our Police Officers Association, and it's about a page long, so permit me, it's probably take me about 3 minutes to read, but I think it probably captures some of the sentiments of folks in the community. And then within that statement are 3 questions, and I'll read the whole statement, and then I'll come back and ask the 3 questions, and then we can open it up to the group for discussion. So the statement begins, "Good afternoon, Mayor Menchaca and Councilman Pu. I'm a police officer with the City of San Gabriel, and I am submitting this comment as a member of the San Gabriel Police Officers Association. Let me begin by first thanking you on some of the recent decisions made by you and the rest of the council to allocate funds towards the police budget for much needed police radios and police vehicles. I also want to thank you and the rest of the council for working with the police unions to implement new workers' compensation alternative dispute resolution program, which we believe will result in better and faster medical treatment for officers injured in the line of duty, along with increased savings to the city in claims associated with workers' compensation. It is no secret that the City of San Gabriel needs to be very careful in regards to how it spends its money during these challenging times, but your actions on these items have demonstrated that you care about the financial stability of the City of San Gabriel as a whole and of the people employed by the city. That being said, me, along with many of my fellow officers, disagree with the council's decision to move forward with the HEAR Commission. To date, the committee has failed to provide us with any valid evidence as to why there is a need for such a commission in the City of San Gabriel. The goal of the HEAR Commission is to advocate for equity, access, diversity, social justice, safety, mutual appreciation, increased cultural competency, and positive intergroup relations with respect for all the members of the San Gabriel community. My first question is whether you can provide us with any evidence that the members or citizens of the City of San Gabriel are not being treated equitably, that they are being denied access to services provided by the City of San Gabriel, that we, the employees, are not diverse, etc. I also acknowledge that systemic racism exists, and there are plenty of examples of the inequitable treatment of people throughout the nation. My second question to the committee is if you can share with us any specific example of systemic racism in San Gabriel justifying the need for a HEAR Commission. And the last paragraph, I would like to comment on the fact that supporters of the HEAR Commission argue that this commission will have no financial impact on our city budget. It is going to cost the City of San Gabriel money to facilitate these HEAR Commission meetings every month. The city is going to have to pay a city employee to chair this commission and possibly a city attorney who is not cheap. Who's going to be responsible for gathering all the information needed by this commission? Is it going to be city employees who are not going to be doing it for free? In a time where the city is trying to be careful with its finances, is this really how the city of citizens of San Gabriel want their tax money spent? Lastly, I would like to comment on the fact that the supporters of the HEAR Commission have argued that this commission is not solely about the police. This commission and the George Floyd proclamation enacted by City Council spawned from what appeared to be an excessive use of force by officers in the state of Minneapolis, Minnesota, which ultimately led to the unfortunate death of a human being. The Cure Commission did not come to light because somebody was denied a builder's permit or because the city failed to pave a street. It came to light because of the actions of police officers who have no nexus to the city of San Gabriel. With that, I conclude my questions, comments. Thank you, Mayor Menchaca and Councilman Pu, for taking the time to listen to my concerns on this matter. So the three questions, just to reiterate, and then I'll open it up to the council folks and then to the community to have a discussion. So provide us with any evidence that the members of San Gabriel are not being treated equitably or that they are being denied access to services. Share with us any examples of systemic racism in San Gabriel, justifying the need for the commission, and who is going to be responsible for gathering all the information for the commission.
Okay, I mean, I'll go ahead and try to address those three as quickly as I can. But I agree with the mayor that we would love to actually, I would love to hear from also the community members who are in the town hall meeting here, as if they have thoughts or stories, experiences that they want to share. I'll share that, you know, during 2-year period of time, my home was broken into 3 times. And after one of those incidents, I was actually able to capture security camera footage of it, of the individuals. So an officer and I sat down over the course of a couple of hours trying to capture that evidence, which was then submitted to, you know, into the detectives department within the police department. A couple weeks later, I was called in to the police department and sat down by the detective who, first thing he said was, well, we've lost the evidence. We no longer have the video footage that you captured. I immediately started to get very upset. And I said, I got up and said, you know what, I need to go cool off, you know. So I walked down the hallway. I was in a huff. Another officer, not that particular officer who was, you know, addressing me at the time, comes out and starts yelling at me. He's like, you get your ass back here. You're in my house now. You do what I say. And I was still upset just from the fact that the evidence that I had gathered, or we had painstakingly tried to gather, was now considered lost, which supposedly was later found, although I've never seen it. And so I didn't even respond to this other person. And other people came out and said, you know what, hey, let him cool off. You know, all I'm doing is like, I'm just standing down the hallway trying to, like, you know, cool down so I don't blow my gasket. Looking back on it, you know, I feel like, you know, in that particular individual, you know, had a history of incidents like this, and I can't help but feel like, you know, that I was I feel like I was yelled at like I was a dog. You know, I feel like that if I were a white male, that kind of treatment would not have occurred, and that kind of thing, maybe while small and isn't like, say, like didn't cause me economic harm per se or something like that, but it's just not acceptable. You know, it's not acceptable to talk to any member of the public like that. And so that's a personal example. I've heard other, and these are, you know, examples of city services, right? Because I can go on and on about examples within the community about how people say, you know, they're tired of looking at my chicken scratches and listening to the gibberish, or you know, on and on about anti-Asian or anti-this or anti-that comments that I've heard. But just among city services. Another example would be something that the mayor touched on, which is language access issues. This is years ago, but you know, I've definitely received emails and complaints over the years, particularly from Chinese-speaking residents, or those who basically, when they were seeking service, like one was a traffic accident, right? The officer who came was not able to communicate with that person. Therefore, you know, his side of the story was not recorded. And, you know, that has a big impact, right? If the police report is one-sided, then that has a legal implications for liability. It has implications for insurance. And so they felt that and I simply forwarded and said, hey, can you look into this? I forwarded it to the chief at the time saying, can you look into this? Because this sounds like it's unfair. But that's one example. Another would be even just going to City Hall for service, code enforcement complaints or other requests for service at City Hall. In the past, again, these examples were years ago, and I know we now have a language line that we do utilize to be able to help us communicate with non-English speaking residents and members of the public. But I think the question for me there is it really being utilized, across the board in situations? How effective is it? Whether or not, is that service, is that service getting the job done? Are we implementing it in a way that will help us be able to address those situations fairly and equitably? I think that those are the types of questions on my mind personally with respect to those language issues. There are many. I think they could cite other things, but I don't want to. Again, it would take all night long to go over everything, and I'm sure Mayor Menchaca would like to also share about her perspective.
Thank you, Councilmember. Again, I'll try to be brief because I really want to get back to everyone. But I want to make it very clear that this is not in any way a ploy or whatever is being said to spin the purpose of the HERE Commission. This is not to defund the police. It might have originated and it was connected to police activity, but that is not the purpose here. And unfortunately, I think a good example is that there is some concern, especially from the community, in particular, certain community members, that having this mechanism in place of self-reflection is a bad thing. And they're using the fear is being used as a tool, the fear that we're going to defund our police or somehow, do something to reallocate funding against this HERE Commission. And that is not the case. I think we've made it very clear. And Councilmember Poole and myself, we've spent countless hours with our police trying to explain to them. My focus is really two things that I've seen, and it's the elections. Back in 2013, we talk about, the cost involved here. This city spent almost $500,000 in trying to install someone, or deinstall actually. Councilmember Chin Ho Lau had been elected, and it was a deliberate effort to disenfranchise the Asian vote in particular and not install him. And we went through this court proceeding, we call it the kangaroo court, the quasi, judicial system, to not seat him. But we did, because that was the will of the voters. But it took $500,000 of our taxpayer money to go through that process. And then we had another election. Well, my election, there's a lot of issues that took place there against, again, racism, hate. And then just the most recent one where it looked like we were going to go through that thing again, that whole process. But fortunately, the election is now being conducted by LA County. It's not by the city itself. And so that's when it starts, its ugly face, I guess, comes out, especially during elections. And I've walked the streets and I see it time after time after time. But one of the things I wanted to bring up, that during these conversations, one of the things that really stunned me, and maybe many of you might be stunned too, but come to find out that the city staff, not the police and fire, I will commend the police and fire because they actually go through this training, but the city staff, there is no requirement for diversity and inclusion training at all. Our police and fire have it, so they have the tools, but our city staff, whether it's Public Works or, you know, the city hall, don't have those tools. They're not being given those tools because it's not a requirement. And so I find that to be a big blind spot. Again, it's nothing malicious. It's nothing that, you know, was planned, but it's not required. Our city staff has other type of training, but diversity and inclusion, they do not. So how can we service our community who is so diverse, especially with languages, you know, and our city staff isn't equipped to do that. They're not trained to do that. I'm sure they're doing the best they can, and you know, they've learned to accommodate and to be able to service. But you know, wouldn't it be a better place if we could help our city staff? You know, every year allow them to take diversity training or make it mandatory. But again, you know, what kind of diversity training? I would love to hear a commission to take something on like that. You know, they can use the model from our police and fire and find out what more can be done. What are other cities doing? What are best practices? So for me, there's plenty of examples, but we've actually talked about it time after time. But I think it's important, especially for our police right now and those who feel that the HEAR Commission has no purpose, to hear from all of you. And so I'm going to turn it over. I apologize. It's already 7:45. I know some of you have left, but if you have to leave, you know, please chime in now. Mark, I'm not sure how we're going to do this with a handshake. I mean, with your hand, you can raise your hand if you want to go next. So.
Let me just also add that, you know, we haven't even touched upon, you know, experiences that each of us may have had that are not directly related to the city, right? As a municipal organization, you know, in the past, I've experienced similar types of things with respect to, you know, within the school district, just regular community members, you know, saying or acting in sort of racist or discriminatory ways, telling me they don't want more people like me in the city, that kind of thing. So anyways, I agree with the mayor that I think that, you know, the most productive and beneficial part of all of the outreach that we've done so far has been when we've been able to hear also from members of the community to tell us, you know, what their experiences have been, and also, you know, what some of their ideas and solutions might be.
Okay, who would like to go first? Raise your hand or turn on your mic.
I'm here.
Okay, Rick's on. Okay, Rick.
I just wrote a little note, hopefully somewhere that note could be read. I just had a few things, and I think I'm a new kid on the block, I should say. The couple of things which I have during your presentation and Councilmember Poo's presentation, I have just thought about this. There are a couple of things. I understand at the first point that this is more or less a learning sort of phase through both sides. It's like from the commission side as well as the city official sides. So there has to be some sort of hands-on involvement of this commission. It may not have to, it certainly doesn't have to be a decision-making scenario that they have to be involved with, but they may have to be a part of the issues so that they can learn and be able to recommend. Because I don't believe the citizens are experts in making. So the second point is, in making the policy, you're already assuming that the folks, the commissioners are sort of already aware of the issues. So if I may, I want to say that probably there will be a learning phase, and then the plan which you're expecting may not be of any value if it comes out in the beginning, while the commission itself is not educated enough about the city issues and so on.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Michelle, I think I saw your hand. Oh, no, okay, well, I'm sorry. Chastity?
Yeah, I just want to say, well, I appreciate the sentiments that the person from the San Gabriel Police Department wrote in, and certainly he or she is expressing a lot of concerns that the community has. But I really feel like, get to Rick's point, a major part of the initial charge of the HERE Commission will be gathering data and information and assessment. So no, we don't have all of the answers. And I think it's very difficult when someone says, can you give me, when someone's asked a question, well, can you tell me an incident, or can you, is there racism in San Gabriel, and they want you to list, a number of ways that you've seen it expressed through the city in particular, involving city government, that is a little bit difficult. It puts you on the spot, and it is certainly concerning that even our Councilmember Pooh can tell you these very concerning stories of his experiences in San Gabriel. But really, our commission will begin with, I hope, collecting data and information that will then go on to inform recommendations and policy and education for our city. But no, we're not going to be able to start off right away with a lot of answers, although there are some things that we can do right away, as Mayor Menchaca said, in terms of making sure that we have greater access for our citizens through those language barriers, of recommending that the city staff do participate in some type of implicit bias training or cultural competence training. There are some kind of very obvious ways that we can increase accessibility to our city government and city services.
Thank you, Chastity. And just a
Thank you both.
reminder, this is a collaborative effort, meaning with this work plan, ultimately the council will need to approve it. But, I'm envisioning, for example, our police department. I mean, I know they're willing and ready to do presentations to answer any questions you may have. That's one way, or the staff that you will have. I know there was questions about social services. Rebecca and her staff could also answer questions. So that is part of the data collection. And, we understand this is the first time, so we're kind of working through this, and these are great points. And if you don't have your work plan by February 1st, no worries, you just continue on, because it's a work in progress. You're right, we're all learning, we're all trying to improve. So I hope we didn't, I don't believe there's any kind of like hard set deadline, especially in the beginning. We will, we'll manage through it. Okay, was there any other?
I'll just add that, there very, very well may be a steep learning curve at the beginning. And that was certainly true of every person that I know who has, become a council member, for example. You do need to, there is a lot more that you need to sort of learn. And so I would expect the first year, or maybe even two, to not only be about the data collection that Dr. Nunez mentioned, but also in sort of doing a deep dive and understanding, some of our policies and practices. And, I think that those things go hand in hand. And I certainly agree with the mayor that it should be, I think throughout though, we would really want to see the process be a collaborative process. The commission, the council, staff, the various departments. And again, it's a citywide examination, and so it's not specifically directed to any one department or another.
Let's see, I see Jean Raya's hand up.
If anybody else wants to speak, since I already did, I'll step back. But I just wanted to follow up on what Rick brought up. I think it's an experiment to some extent, and I think really effective training is going to be very important at the outset, because serving on a commission is likely to be a new experience for everyone who has applied. It's going to be important, I think, to continue to engage the community all along, as you did in the meetings that you had with the religious leaders and business leaders of and residents of the city. It's also going to be important that all the proceedings of the commission, I know they're required to be transparent, but there's legal transparency, and then there's really reaching out to the community so that the community is able to follow and engage. Hopefully this will inspire greater engagement in a number of issues. I think this audience here this evening is really touching a lot of different elements of the community, but that it's never enough. That outreach has to be expanded.
Okay. Thank you, Jean. Sherry?
Wow.
Yeah, I kind of want to reiterate what they said and just build upon that. First of all, the public needs to realize you can't encapsulate what this commission does in like one paragraph. There's going to be, as you stated, a huge learning curve, and that's important. And the public needs to understand right off the bat that the commission those people have been selected because they are very qualified, and you feel that they would work well explaining the problems of the city. They're not going to solve everything, but they are going to guide the public through what's going on, I would hope, and explain it so people understand. It's going to be a tough couple months, few months or tough year for this first commission, because they're making the path for what comes. They're setting the standard, and that's asking a lot. That's what I'm thinking. So more power to those people that are on it, because that's a big ask. That's all I had to say.
So if before I see more hands go up, is there any personal story, or is there, maybe you can respond why you think we need a HEAR commission, or why we don't need a HEAR commission? I mean, we're trying to get voices from all over. I see a couple mics on, so I want to make sure I see Felix, Rick, and Karina.
Yeah.
So you already spoke, Rick. So wait a second.
Sorry. Hey, this is supposed to be an open forum. Am I right, Mark?
It is. But I saw Karina and I see Felix mic on. But go ahead, Rick. Since I put you on the spot, I apologize.
Here's the deal. You're better off with me than that cop who asked me questions.
Oh, he's a good man. I'm not worried about Gil.
No, I think he's
Gil too.
definitely.
You know Gil. Yeah,
definitely he has asked some good questions. And I think those are very relevant questions. But I think taking the view of what Sherry just said, it is going to definitely be so for what I understand so far is that this is basically going to be a sort of a body between the city and the public. So that there would be two things. Naturally, we, as it's already laid out, this committee does not have any power to make to make decisions. However, it does have power to recommend and to refer to the scenarios.
It's recommendations.
So what Sherry said, they're actually, I think referring to that part is that, yes, when these public forums are held, definitely there would be positive and there will be input, just like this input is coming through. And also there will be complaints. And those complaints could be informally handed over to the folks who take care of these rather than getting into it. And then last one I have is, since the time is going to take to come up to speed, in other words, the learning phase is going to be longer, huge. So the folks who are going to retire after 2 years or after 1 year, whoever it is, some sort of provision needs to be made for them to be available informally or formally, however that works out in future. So that's just a thought.
Okay, thank you, Rick.
Let me just interject two things. One is that yes, this will be challenging, but I also think that it being the first, it's also an amazing opportunity, to lay the foundation and set the table and and address some of these initial challenges. Secondly, I would also say that any commissioner on any of our commissions can be reappointed. So it's not as if it's like, okay, you serve for a 1-year term or a 2-year term, and then that's it. You're done. You can be reappointed to an additional 2-year term. The normal term would be 2 years, but because we have to have it staggered, then some will be 1 year, initially 1-year members, and some will be 2-year members. And when the 1-year members' terms are up, they can reapply to be reappointed. And sometimes there's a benefit to having some of those folks returning. So, regardless of which commission we're talking about, because there is that institutional knowledge and experience that does benefit the commission and ultimately therefore benefits the city.
And the criteria, the process, for the most part, it's the same for every commission, the terms and things like that. So, okay, Karina?
Yeah, I have a question. So since the police department is, obviously they have concerns about this, is the HERE Commission going to be working at some point or any stage with the police department at all to maybe gather information or just like bring concerns as far as some of maybe issues that come up with people that feel that they have not been treated correctly by the police department?
Well, we've had, again, countless conversations with our police officers, and I know they're ready and willing to provide whatever information or presentation that would be helpful to educate and inform the commissioners. Regarding complaints, again, we have a process already in place, but out of those complaints, there might be something that the HERE Commission sees that says, maybe we want to explore a little bit more, but that is not the point of the commission. Again, it's not to respond to every single complaint, but the overall process, is there, do they need a point person for complaints to be delivered? I mean, but that's part of the educational process. It's the HERE Commission wants to hear, not only from our police, but maybe they have concerns about community services. No offense, Rebecca, but there's community services, there's building, there's public works with our streets. There's quite a few complaints about that, we've never been very fair. The one side gets, pavement maybe every 40 years and the other side gets it every year. I mean, those are the type of complaints that could surface, and it behooves any commission, whether you're HERE Commission or a planning commission, to get the facts first. And then as you learn the facts, then you can start formulating your recommendations, or from your public works presentation, maybe other things could surface. But we know that, when we talk about social justice, social equity, Rebecca's department seems to be kind of that place where people seem to navigate to. So that's why she's kind of key in maybe managing this, being the key staff member and her staff to help collaborate with the commission and bring them information. But any department will be working with the commission, not just the police.
And as far as sorry. Go ahead,
Jason. My short answer to that question is yes, and that process has already begun. I'd say, the HERE Commission should, and as the mayor points out, it can be with any department, but if there are issues with that specifically, or questions, let's say, that are specifically directed with respect to the police department, then yes, the HERE Commission should be able to work collaboratively with them. And I just also want to clarify regarding the incident, the experience that I shared earlier, that the officer that yelled at me during that time is no longer with the San Gabriel Police Department through no action of mine. Believe me, that happened. That individual is no longer part of our police department because he retired. But I just wanted to, I guess I wanted to make it clear that these are past experience and incidents, and I think that I think it behooves us to just to make sure that we don't continue to condone behaviors or practices that would offend individuals in that way, or again result in sort of inequitable consequences depending upon membership in a particular group, whether it's gender, sexual orientation, race, ethnicity, that kind of thing. So just wanted to add that. Sorry, Karina, please. Sorry.
No, it's okay. As far as the financial part of it, since there's a concern that this is actually going to cost the city more money or something, I know that we're going to use city employees or the city, what's already in place. Is it going to cost the city actually more money? Is it something that is going to, cost more time for the employees and stuff like that? Or is it just something that is going to be incorporated in what we have now?
So my understanding is that, of course, there is a non-zero cost because staff time costs money. And we do, in fact, calculate that hourly rate for each and every employee of the city, what that hourly rate is in terms of compensation, in terms of benefits, and so forth. So yes, that is a non-zero cost. And I think I don't think we've ever been not trying to hide that or be dishonest about it. But the current intention is that hopefully it can be taken on by, again, as Mark mentioned earlier, members of the community services staff who have volunteered. They volunteered that they wanted to be a part of this commission, to staff this commission. In addition, they could support this commission in addition to the other duties and responsibilities that they already have, so that it wouldn't have any additional
Cost. Yeah.
Net costs, but if you track the number of hours that they spend supporting this commission or working for this commission and multiply it by their hourly rate, then yes, you would be able to see that. But at the end of the day, it's included in their salaries, I guess, is what I would is how I would maybe shorthand it.
I saw Mark. I think you wanted to say something, Mark, and then I can follow you.
I was going to say exactly that. What Councilman Pu said. I would say that at least in the initial stages, it's going to be the least costliest of times. I mean, if there's cost to get data or other things, we would have to bring that back to council, and that would have to be budgeted as part of next year's budget, or we'd have to find places for that. But I anticipate initially, before programs are developed or services are added, it would be, as Councilman Pu stated, very cost neutral. And then any programs that would get created or services added, that would have to be approved by the full council as part of the budget process down the road. So it would be something that the community would know about and be aware of.
And finally, I just wanted to say, it's a matter of priorities. When we established the historical commission 3 years ago now, I mean, that was a 2-year process. We had a significant investment in a consulting firm to put together the commission ordinance. But it's back to priorities. Is this an investment that this community wants to make? And do we want this to be equitable? Do we want to see access for all? Do we want to make sure that the services that are being provided in a fair and equitable way? So it's back to just like with historical. Not everybody values history. Not everybody thought that was a great idea. But the council at the time said, yes, we believe it is, and just like we do with the commission. So there are priorities that sometimes it's hard to quantify, and this is an important one.
Okay.
And I would say, I would say
you.
also promotion of those values, within the community as well, right? Because in other words, there's sort of like 2 levels or 2 layers to that. And I think Gerardo and George are both had their hands up and wanted to speak.
Okay, well, I thought I saw Felix, but maybe it's just the mic is on. Felix, I thought you were after Karina. Did you want to speak?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that, the commission really presents a terrific and wonderful opportunity, on the level of civic engagement. any civic engagement in municipal government, should be welcomed by everyone. So I think this is a terrific opportunity to enhance civic engagement. It's also, let's talk about costs. We should also talk about the benefits and the potential financial benefits of having a commission like this. When people look at the city of San Gabriel and say, this is a welcoming community, this is a community that embraces diversity, that strives to be a welcoming community for all. This could potentially bring in more business for the city, bring in new retail. So it could really put San Gabriel on the map. San Gabriel is a majority minority city, and this kind of policy that really embraces diversity and enhances civic engagement really shouldn't just be looked at as something that potentially is going to be costly to the community. I think it offers an opportunity potentially to bring money into the community. In response to the police officer, I just have to say, I was a little troubled by hearing that. As a taxpayer in San Gabriel, and I pay quite a bit of taxes, as a taxpayer in San Gabriel, the police officers need to be responsive to the community and to the citizens. I want policing that is fair and equitable and engaging and is part of our community. My belief is that the police and this police officer and all other officers who have questions really need to embrace and think about embracing this commission as an opportunity to engage with the community. They are employees of the community. They work for me. I don't work for them. They work for me. They work for me. I'm a resident of the city. I've been a resident for 21 years in the city. I expect my police officers, as I do all city staff and my representatives, to work for us and work on behalf of our benefit. This is a terrific opportunity, if they choose to look at it that way, to do civic engagement. And frankly, if we want to have a police commission as a city, that's our right as citizens to be engaged civically and to ask our public servants to be responsive to us because they work for us and my taxes pay for them. So I'm sorry to be a little bit upset about this or frustrated or flustered by this, but I appreciate the police. I have family that are police officers that have worked for many years in the sheriff's department, LAPD, friends that are police officers. I have no disrespect and regard them with high esteem for the work that they do. It's a job I don't do and I don't want to do, so I understand that. But by the same token, I'm paying for their salaries. They need to be responsive to us. So this commission is a great opportunity, in my view, for the police, for fire, for all municipal agencies to really engage and build trust with the community. So if that feedback gets back to the police, yeah, I'd be happy to engage with them and talk to them more about it. But I really applaud the work of the city, of Mayor Menchaca, Councilman Pooh, all the councilmen that work to support this. I think this is a terrific initiative. I applaud the citizens that stood up and have moved forward to this level of civic engagement. It's something that not every citizen does and should be embraced by the city.
Thank you. Gerardo?
Yeah, I had a very black and white question here. Have any of the other city departments complained about the proposal of having a commission? Is that idea frowned upon anywhere else other than the police department?
I'm happy to answer that, only because I would have heard it maybe even before the council people would have. This is Mark Lazaretto, the city manager. No, but we haven't heard any complaints. And I need to say that our police department hasn't complained either. There have been some questions or some concerns, but the thing that they will all tell you to a person is whatever the police chief ends up telling them that the marching orders are going to be, so to speak, they will jump behind that and support it 100%. But they have questions, so I wouldn't call it or characterize it as complaints or anything like that. Concerns, questions.
Concerns. My apologies for phrasing.
And I'm not trying to change the way you're saying things. I just want to answer it so it's not mischaracterizing what I've heard, because I haven't heard it.
Of course.
And part of it, however, though, unfortunately, is that they're also hearing from the other side that is using it as a tool to divide. And, it happens. And so that's why I actually appreciate the police coming forward. And let's make it clear, this is the police, the PIO.
Police Officers Association, POA.
POA, I'm sorry, Police Officers Association. There's the Police Management Group. So this is the Police Officers Association. So I actually appreciate that they're willing to A, work with us. They've been working with the subcommittee, Councilmember and myself, and B, that they are asking the questions, and they should ask the questions. They want to be part of this. They do. And there was some discussion early on about having a police officer on the commission, just to be able to be a resource. But then as we continued on with this process, we realized, well, if we have a police, then that means we would have to have a public works, we would have to have a community services. And this is supposed to be an independent body looking at all services and how it's being administered. So, I appreciate it, you know, and they're very civil, very, it's been good. It's been good relationship, but you know, it is what it is. So
I would agree.
I'm sorry.
Well, let me just add that, you know, in our conversations with the police officers and members of the, we fully recognize it's a very difficult job. It's a dangerous job, and they do, you know, put their own lives and health at risk to protect the community at large. We don't mean to detract or take away from that at all. So, you know, like the mayor said, I also appreciate the questions and concerns that have been raised. And then frankly, I feel like, you know, they've made for a better commission, right? And having to address these types of concerns, you know, we have to honestly think to ourselves, you know, is that what we really want this commission to be engaged in? And the answer has been no. You know, I think we keep the commission focused on the policy level, more policy level issues, and in a proactive way, then I think that it can be, you know, an amazing opportunity for progress and for learning and for understanding, you know, having better understanding and mutual understanding, maybe not just throughout the city as an organization, but throughout the city as a community.
And also just to add real quick, and then I'll go to you, George, I'm sorry. Just so everyone knows, there has been, especially since Chief Harris has joined us as our chief, tremendous amount of community outreach. They have the 411 with the chief, or they've had the academies, you know, but of course, COVID kind of put a halt to a lot. But there has been a sincere, genuine effort from our police department to do the outreach, to try to explain the processes. They've tried to do it in different languages. So, you know, I applaud them for their efforts. And so that's part of the educational process for this commission, is to learn, you know, what are all the departments doing? You know, how have they changed or adapted not only to COVID, but to the fact that, you know, the numbers have increased. For example, Rebecca's department in particular with community services going from, you know, feeding 60 seniors per day to, I think the high has been like 250. So, you know, those are things that the commission will be learning about, but every department, you know, has made those adjustments, or I call them pivots, for COVID, but some of those are going to continue on. And so, yes, I agree with some of the other comments. This is going to be an educational process. And I think, you know, I don't want to scare anyone. I'm hoping you continue to apply, but this is an opportunity, and people, other cities are looking at us. We have become, you know, our ordinance is kind of a blueprint for other cities. And I've had several you know, comments and questions, just as Councilmember Pooh, other cities want to start doing something like this because it is to improve. It is a moment of self-reflection, and it doesn't have to be just about police. There's so many other issues that are taking place, and every city is different. But in our city, I think there's more, there's policy issues that in the way we deliver our services that really, I think, need to be looked at and have not in the past. So I'm sorry, George, you're next. Go. Sorry about that.
Yes, yes, totally agree. Thank you. Thank you. It goes back to a rhetoric that we keep hearing constantly, and that's defunding the police, defunding the police, and defunding the police. It just seems like they throw that out there to get people scared, to get people riled up. But that's not the issue. That's not the core issue. The police is not the issue. We have a huge systemic issue that goes back far, far into the beginnings of the creation of our nation. So when we allow people to spin this rhetoric and to keep repeating this rhetoric, I mean, everybody is entitled to say whatever they want, but that just serves to hide the biggest issue that we have, and that's systemic racism. And not only that, discrimination in different ways and different facets. Which we have discrimination in age, discrimination in gender, discrimination in the money, the kind of money you make, right? What bracket, what class you're in, class discrimination. It goes into different facets. So I do want to commend the San Gabriel PD. I'm a proud San Gabriel resident myself as well, and I know Felix hit a lot of these topics, and I really want to echo what he said as well. As far as all the stuff that he said, I felt the same way as well. But again, we just have to address all the issues. Not only, I'm sorry, let me digress. I wanted to commend the police department. They're doing such a great job, like Denise said. They're doing such an amazing job. Every single time I go into the Kiwanis Club, there's always somebody from the police department present. They've shown great support to this community, and I hope this commission really works along with the police, and we do not divide our community, and we keep all the departments together to work towards one goal, and that's to be one happy community. If we want to say there's no racism, we will be fooling ourselves if we say there's no racism in San Gabriel. Come on, we will be fooling ourselves with a city that's full of diversity. There's bound to be some racism. So if we want facts, that's to me, that's finding excuses not to continue with progress. So I hope this commission focuses on the progress and does not find one little way to get out of the progress, or find one or start developing excuses to deviate from this critical issue. So my last statement, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to our wonderful leadership, Councilmember Jason Poo, Mayor Denise Menchaca, Councilmember Ching Ho Lao, Harrison, Councilmember Harrison, and Councilmember Tony Ding for putting up this platform and leading the way and helping San Gabriel lead the way on this issue, because it is an issue, and I hope San Gabriel does a good job in this commission, and we do not fail. We need to have people that are determined, and not people that are going to say, yeah, this sounds fun, I'm going to put this on my resume, because it is going to take even a month, every month meeting once a month. It's going to be, it doesn't seem like enough time. That's only 12 times in 1 year that we're going to meet, or that the commission is going to meet, right? So I feel that hopefully whoever's in this commission is determined to go on the long run, right? And put in the good work and go and ready for whatever comes, because we will be fooling ourselves if that we're not gonna, or our San Gabriel is not gonna get criticized for doing such a momentous movement, because we are leading the way, and you guys are leading the way with this movement. And I'm really happy to be part of San Gabriel, to be a San Gabriel resident. So thank you very much for all you guys' hard work and dedication to our city. And that's again to our leadership, to our police officers, and to our residents. We will not stand for this social injustice. We will include everybody because that's who we are. We're San Gabriel. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Thank you, George.
Is there anyone else who would like to take this opportunity? I know it's already late. It's almost 2 hours, but please, those who've stayed to the bitter end here, please feel free to speak and make any comments. There's only a few of you that haven't said anything yet, but thank you for being here, for listening. I do appreciate it. Did you raise your hand, Vicky? Did I see a hand? No.
Yeah,
There we go.
It was a side hand over here.
Okay.
I just want to echo some of the comments that are here. I think for me, hopefully you can hear me. For me, thanks, Jason. You know, these are very divisive times, not just in San Gabriel, but across the country and, you know, arguably across the world. And so one of the reasons why I was interested in hearing more about this commission and, you know, really very proud of the work that you're doing, because, you know, it's very easy to complain about things that are problematic or that bother you in you know, various ways, and to you know, be someone who's spreading that rhetoric. Like George said, it's easy to have a soundbite, but if we're ever going to do anything about it, then this is the hard work that we have to do. And I think a big part of it will be really listening to each other, to really understand people's points of view. I think that'll be really a key component. And so one of the things that I'm really hoping for is that, just like you said, the variety of perspectives can come forward and be welcomed and be listened to and to be considered, but in a respectful way, and that that, you know, things will be brought to light that not everyone is going to agree on, but I think that this is the hard work that has to be done. So really appreciate everybody, particularly, you know, taking the time. Just like everyone has said, this is the commitment, but once again, you know, this city is really leading the way and being very proactive, and I think that you know, it's definitely worth the effort, and it's going to be a success, just, you know, in bringing people together, and I think that's where we the beginning is really the beginning, and everyone in the community has to be involved. And so you know, the commission is really maybe the platform, but everyone has to do their part. So really appreciate, you know, this effort.
Thank you, Vicky. Would anybody else like to make any comments? Lasting comments? Okay. Well then, well, thank you so much, Mark. I'll kind of pass it to you, and then you can pass it back to us. I think there was a few things I just wanted to remind everybody about.
Yeah, before I remind everybody, Madam Mayor and everybody on here, I do want to say that, you know, the question about our police department and their concerns or their issues with this, the reason that they have concerns, I don't want to speak for anybody, but I believe the reason that they have concerns is because they are better than, I would say, 99% of the police departments that are out there, and they do community policing. They have a mental health evaluation team. And so they feel like, and I think they are doing a great job. And so the big question is, what are they going to be asked to do that they're not doing now? So it doesn't come from a place of wanting to treat people with inequity or to discriminate against folks. I think they believe and stand up for the opposite of that. So if there's concern on their part, it's because they feel like they're doing what needs to be done now, and that they're maybe not getting that credit this day and age because of what's going on in the world. So I don't want anybody to take away the thought that our police department is afraid to look at themselves or to change or to do what needs to be done, because I think they've already felt like, and as both of our council members said, but since Chief Harris has been here, that it has been implemented, and I think it's been demonstrated. It's not to say that any of us can't get better and that any of us shouldn't get better, but that's where that concern comes from. And with that, Mayor, thank you for letting me make those couple of comments. Just a reminder that we have the application period, as you said, open through December the 15th. We will put that on our website prominently for the next week so that everybody can see where that application is. And then the interviews will be live, as all of our city council meetings are, will be on YouTube and on the Spectrum Channel 3. So we encourage the community to watch those and to be a part of the process, even as the commission gets put into place. And then finally, the commission meetings will be live. And even if we get started before COVID ends, there will be not live as far as being people able to go to the meetings, but being able to watch on YouTube and being able to watch on Channel 3. And then when we are able to meet in person, we will encourage the community that this doesn't end when the commission gets formed, that we hope a diversity of opinions come to those meetings as well. So thank you both for allowing me to be a part of this, and I turn it over to you for your closing comments.
I'll go ahead. Councilmember Pu, why don't you?
Sure. Yeah, again, thank you all for spending the time to learn more about the commission, for your thoughtful questions. And again, you know, I feel like every time we have a discussion, I feel like I learned something. I feel like there's more air in the room, you know, and space to talk about these issues. Like we're maybe so reticent about talking about our own personal experiences or about these types of equity problems that, you know, potentially are there. But I also don't think it does any good to bury our heads in the sand, you know, whether it's, you know, us in the city of San Gabriel or society at large. And we are not immune to national rhetoric that's going on. You know, it's understandable for members of the police department to feel sort of specifically targeted or under fire. But that has never been the intent that Mayor Menchaca or I had in any of this, because we, from the beginning, understood that, as Mark said, that our own San Gabriel Police Department does do a really, really good job on a lot of these issues, and does engage in community policing and has other resources that do help within the community. But again, it's not to say that, you know, there aren't things that couldn't be done better, or you know, that maybe potential that we as a city could do more of, and that maybe that could be the genesis of the next model of policing. You know, like what do we do to go beyond just community policing, you know, towards equitable policing. And I'll just close by saying one of the things that I am most proud of in serving on the council for a little bit now is the fact that I do feel that the culture of the organization has changed a lot, you know, in the last 5 to 7 years for the better. And in this direction, you know, in the direction towards even on equity and access issues. And that's a credit to our current staff, to all of the employees of the organization, to the executive team, to the city manager, our assistant city manager, Armene Chaparayan, Rebecca Perez, community services director, of course, Chief Harris. He has done an amazing job of bringing the police department along. Across the board, you know, I would say that we have a very solid team, which is why I also have a high degree of confidence that the process will be collaborative and productive, and it won't just, you know, any process like this could have that potential for becoming just contentious. But I'm pretty confident that the caliber of the individuals that we have here in this town hall meeting and on staff, that we can and maybe will set an example. And I really do hope that we can become known as a city of equity, a city of diversity, and maybe even a city of redemption. And I think that, you know, those are lofty goals and to aspire to, but, you know, looking around the room here and, you know, I personally, I feel sort of, you know, just proud and excited for both the challenges and the opportunities ahead. So again, thank you all. And I encourage everybody out there listening, everybody here in the town hall meeting, please apply for the commission if you're interested. The deadline is December 15th. Thank you.
Great, and then I'll just close it finally. I also wanted to thank everyone who came, who spent the time to really understand. And I believe all of you felt the same way, that you learned something, and that perhaps each one of you can contribute in some way, whether on the commission or just being more civically engaged, listening to our city council meetings, or going to we have quite a few other commissions that are also taped, they're live stream. So, there's opportunities out there, and that's part of the process. We want people to be more civically engaged. And this is a commission that is going to be San Gabriel. This is a local commission. So yes, there are national issues that are impacting every city. But this commission will be San Gabriel, it originated in San Gabriel, and it's going to be San Gabriel specific. So if a neighboring city, decides to adopt our ordinance, it's going to look different from the one we have. We're creating this one here in our city, and it has to be collaborative. And so we did focus a lot on the San Gabriel Police this evening, just because they asked the question. But there are a whole host of other departments that I know people are interested in also, and that do need to be looked at. I want to echo what Councilmember Pooh said. I think we have the best staff ever. Every director really has done an amazing job, especially during the pandemic. But we can always learn, and I kind of look at this as a like a home inspection. If I'm going to buy a home, I want to be able to bring some experts in to check the home, just to make sure that the foundation is in play, and it's a safe place to buy, or safe home to buy. And so this is what I'm looking at this commission as, looking at our structure here. And yeah, it looks great, but there might be some things that we can improve in. I'm sure there are, that we just haven't thought about. And I guess it's still kind of I'm still puzzled sometimes, because let's go back to the home. I mean, if the seller had any kind of reservations for me bringing in my inspection team, I would get a little concerned. It's like, well, maybe the home isn't, up to par, or a job. I've been, employed for 35 plus years. I had a variety of different jobs, and in every job there was always performance reviews. There was always comments about, how you can do better, the 360 reviews. And so that's what I'm looking at. It's a safe place to bring up recommendations, to bring up ideas, best practices from our experiences, or the commissioner's experiences, and then it comes to the council, and ultimately the council will approve it. But this is an opportunity. This is something that it's a gift that we're giving to our residents, and it's supposed to be collaborative. So while there's so much divisiveness, in this country, maybe San Gabriel could show that, we can come together, even if we have difference of opinion, but we can come together and we can make this work. So, whether it's the police or public works, this commission will be working with everyone. And just like the council, we work with everyone. So, so with that, I will end it. And again, thank you so much for staying on board. Thank you to Mark, Rebecca, and Armene, who are going to make this work also, and for all your feedback and just being part of this. So have a great evening. We're always available. So if you have any questions, you know how to reach us, I hope. And that's it. So have a great,
Thanks, everybody.
great weekend too. Bye-bye,
Good night.
everybody.
Happy holidays too.
Yeah, stay safe.